Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you today of something simple but powerful. God is already handling it. Whatever it is you're worried about, stressed over, losing sleep about, He's already in the middle of it, working things out for your good. Too often we live life caught up in our own minds, trying to figure everything out. We analyze, we replay the past, we overthink the future. And while our minds are racing, God is whispering, "Be still. I've got this." You see, faith isn't just believing God can do something. It's trusting that He already is. While you're trying to make sense of it all, He's already opening doors you can't see yet. While you're stressing over how it's all going to come together, He's aligning the right people, the right timing, and the right opportunities. Have you ever been in a season where nothing seemed to be moving? You were praying, believing, hoping, but all you got was silence, no signs, no answers, just a whole lot of waiting. It's in those moments that we're tempted to believe God isn't doing anything. But let me tell you today, just because you don't see Him working doesn't mean He isn't. God doesn't need your permission to move. He doesn't announce every step. Most of the time, His greatest miracles are taking shape in the background, quietly, slowly, faithfully, behind the scenes. God is the master architect. Just like a builder lays the foundation before anyone sees the house going up, God is laying the groundwork in your life before He brings things to the surface. You may be asking for the next chapter, but God is busy building the bridge that will take you there safely. He's arranging conversations, opening doors you haven't even knocked on yet, shifting hearts, closing the wrong path, and positioning the right people. Just because you can't see the blueprint doesn't mean there isn't one. He's not inactive. He's intentional. We often want progress to be visible. We want to feel something, see something, hear something. But God specializes in the unseen. He's not limited by your senses or your timeline. While you're losing sleep trying to figure out how it's going to work out, God is already speaking to someone about your promotion. While you're replaying that disappointment in your mind, God is setting up your restoration. It might look like nothing's happening, but in the spiritual realm, wheels are turning, angels are moving, and God is lining things up for your breakthrough. Think about a seed planted in the ground. For days, maybe weeks, it looks like nothing is happening. You water it, you check on it, but there's no sign of growth. Under the surface, though, that seed is breaking, taking root, pushing through the soil. If you judge the process based on what you could see, you think it failed, but in reality, it's right on schedule. The same goes for you. Just because you can't see the shift doesn't mean it's not happening. God works from the ground up. Root first, fruit second. Sometimes God hides what He's doing to protect it. If He revealed His plan too soon, we might try to step in and help Him out, or worse, walk away because it doesn't look the way we expected. So He covers it, shields it, lets it grow in silence, and when the time is right, He brings it to light. What looks like a delay is often just divine protection. You weren't ready yet. The situation wasn't ripe yet. The right opportunity hadn't matured yet. But all along, God was working lovingly, deliberately, faithfully. That's why we have to shift our mindset. Stop judging your life based on what you see. Faith isn't about what's visible. It's about what's true. And the truth is, God is always working. He's not pacing the floors of heaven, wondering how to fix your situation. He already has the solution. He's already made the way. He's already gone before you and prepared every step. Your job is to trust that your Father knows exactly what He's doing. So even if it feels quiet right now, even if your prayers seem unanswered, even if the doors haven't opened yet, hold your peace. Stay in faith. Don't be moved by silence. Don't be discouraged by what you can't see. The same God who brought you through before is working right now. And one day, what He's been building behind the scenes will suddenly be in front of your eyes. And you'll look back and say, wow, He really was working the whole time. One of the biggest battles we face isn't out there in the world. It's the one happening in our minds. Our thoughts can race, spin, and spiral into 1,000 what-ifs. What if it doesn't work out? What if I missed my chance? What if I made the wrong move? We analyze every angle, replay every conversation, and imagine the worst case scenario like it's a movie script we've rehearsed 100 times. But the truth is, overthinking doesn't solve the problem, it only magnifies it. It turns small worries into full-blown fears and delays our peace by focusing on our own strength instead of God's promises. God never designed our minds to carry the weight of trying to control everything. When we try to figure everything out, we're saying, God, I trust you, but just in case, let me work through this a little more. Overthinking is our way of trying to stay in control. But the more we try to manage every detail, the more anxious and exhausted we become. We weren't created to live like that. We were created to trust, to lean on God, to rest in His ability to work all things together for our good. Even when we don't understand how, faith isn't just a feeling we get during worship or an idea we talk about on Sundays. It's a way of living. And one of the most powerful forms of faith is when we learn to let go of what we cannot control and trust that God is still in charge. It's easy to have faith when everything makes sense, when the doors are opening, when the answers are coming in. But real, mature faith shows up when nothing is making sense, when the path looks unclear, when prayers haven't been answered yet, and when everything inside us wants to take back control. You see, there will always be things in life we simply can't fix, no matter how smart we are, how strong we are, or how hard we try. We can't control people's decisions. We can't fast forward God's timing. We can't undo the past or see into the future. But what we can do is choose to trust, and that's what faith is. It's saying, God, I don't see the way forward right now. I don't have the answers. But I believe you do. So I'm going to rest in your ability instead of worrying in mine. Think about this. When a child is with their parent, they don't worry about how the bills are going to be paid or how they'll get home or what's coming next. They just walk, trusting that their parent has it handled. That's the kind of simple, pure faith God invites us to have with Him. Not blind ignorance, but confident trust in His goodness, in His track record, and in His love for us. God has never lost a battle, never failed to promise, and He's not about to start with you. Some of us struggle to trust because we've been let down before, by people, by situations, maybe even by our own choices. But here's the good news. God is not like people. He doesn't change His mind. He doesn't break His word. He doesn't say one thing and do another. When He says He's working it out, He means it. And if He tells you to leave it in His hands, that's because His hands are more capable than ours will ever be. Faith is putting your situation where it belongs in God's hands and leaving it there. Doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. It means you do your part. Be responsible, stay faithful, walk in wisdom, and then you release the rest to God. The part you can't control, that's where God steps in. That's where miracles happen. That's where peace begins. Because as long as we're holding on to things we weren't meant to carry, we're blocking the very help God wants to give us. Faith makes space for God to move. When we truly trust that God is handling what we can't, it changes the way we walk through challenges. We stop trying to manipulate outcomes. We stop losing sleep over what ifs. We stop living with clenched fists and start living with open hands. And that posture, open hands, surrendered heart, that's where breakthrough lives. Because now, you're not just saying you trust God, you're showing it. So whatever you're facing today, whatever feels too big, too complicated, too overwhelming, remind yourself, this is above my pay grade, but it's not above God's. I may not have the power to change it, but I have the faith to believe He's already working on it, and that's more than enough. One of the hardest things for many of us to do is let go. We like to plan, organize, and hold all the pieces together. We want to know how, when, why, and what's next. We want to anticipate every outcome and solve every problem. But at some point, we all reach a moment in life where our strength just isn't enough. And it's in that moment that God gently whispers, let go. Let me handle it. You see, control feels safe, but it's actually a heavy burden we were never meant to carry. Control makes us feel powerful, but it also makes us anxious. The more we try to manage, the more we worry. The more we grip things tightly, the more fear creeps in. What if it doesn't go the way I planned? What if I fail? What if they leave? But here's the truth. God can't move fully in a life that's completely held by our hands. Surrender is the key that unlocks His power. When we finally loosen our grip and release our need to manage every detail, we give God space to do what only He can do. There's a story in Scripture where Jesus told Peter to cast his nets on the other side of the boat. Peter had been fishing all night and caught nothing. He could have said, Jesus, I know what I'm doing. I've got this. But instead, he let go of what he thought he knew, and he obeyed. And because he let go, he made room for the miraculous. His nets overflowed. That's what happens when we stop relying on our knowledge and start trusting in God's wisdom. His ways are higher, and He sees what we don't. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise enough to recognize that God is stronger, smarter, and more capable than you are. It's not about abandoning responsibility. It's about shifting the responsibility to the one who can actually carry it. You still show up. You still walk in excellence. But you stop trying to force outcomes. You stop obsessing over timelines. You stop living like everything depends on you, and you start living like everything depends on God, because it does. So many of us are asking God to move in our lives, but we're still trying to direct the scene. We want His power, but on our terms. But God doesn't work on our script. He works on His purpose. He's not waiting for your strategy. He's waiting for your surrender. Sometimes the greatest move of faith is simply stepping back and saying, God, I don't have to control this. I trust you with it. And when you take your hands off the wheel, that's when God takes you places you never could have driven yourself. We were never called to figure everything out. We were called to follow. Letting go is an act of worship. It says, God, I believe you love me enough to take care of this. I believe you're faithful enough to lead me through this. I believe you're wise enough to do what's best, even if it doesn't match what I imagined. Letting go is freedom. It's peace. It's resting in the truth that even if life feels uncertain, God never is. His plan is still intact, and His hand is still on your life. So today, whatever you've been trying to fix, force, or figure out, release it. Say, God, I trust you with this relationship. I trust you with this career decision. I trust you with this healing. I trust you with this dream. And then step back. Don't try to take it back next week. Let God be God. Because when you stop controlling, He starts revealing. When you let go, He begins to move. And what He does with surrendered hands will always be greater than what we could do with clenched fists. We all carry burdens. Some are visible, financial pressure, relationship struggles, health challenges. Others are hidden, anxiety, shame, fear, regret. And we try to hold it all together with a smile on our face, pushing through each day, pretending we're fine. But deep down, we're weary, drained, worn out. Why? Because we're carrying loads we were never meant to bear. Life gets heavy when you try to handle everything alone. But here's the truth. You don't have to. God never asked you to carry the weight. He asked you to give it to Him. In Matthew 11, Jesus says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That's not just a poetic verse. It's a divine invitation. Jesus didn't say, tough it out. He didn't say, figure it out. He said, come to me. Bring me the stress, the fear, the confusion, the heartbreak. Let me carry it. Let me exchange your heaviness for my peace. Rest isn't a reward for figuring things out. It's the result of handing it over. And the sooner you give it to God, the sooner you'll feel lighter. Many of us treat God like a backup plan. We try everything else first. We stress, we cry, we overthink, we call 3 friends. We Google 20 solutions, and when that doesn't work, we say, well, I guess all I can do now is pray. But what if prayer wasn't your last resort, but your first move? What if surrendering the burden was the starting point? Because the moment you give it to God, He goes to work on your behalf. While you're wrestling, He's waiting, not because He doesn't care, but because He's not going to take what you won't release. Some burdens we carry out of habit. Maybe you grew up thinking you had to be strong for everyone else. Maybe you've always been the fixer. Maybe you're used to stuffing things down, pretending you're okay. But just because you've learned to carry it doesn't mean you're supposed to. Strong people still need a savior. Being tough doesn't mean being overloaded. It's okay to say, God, I can't do this by myself. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. And here's something powerful. When you give God your burdens, He doesn't just carry them, He redeems them. He takes your sorrow and brings comfort. He takes your anxiety and gives peace that passes all understanding. He takes your chaos and brings order, your confusion and gives clarity. He doesn't just lighten the load, He transforms it. What once crushed you becomes a testimony of His faithfulness. What once broke you becomes the very thing He uses to bless someone else. But it starts with letting go. We weren't created to walk around emotionally exhausted and spiritually depleted. That's not strength, that's survival. And God didn't call you to survive. He called you to live free, light, and fully surrendered. When you offload the burden, you make room for joy, you make room for creativity, you make room for love, laughter, rest, and renewal. Carrying burdens you weren't designed to carry doesn't prove anything except that you need the one who made you to step in and help. So today, take inventory. What's weighing you down? What's been keeping you up at night? What are you holding on to that's not yours to carry? Maybe it's the future. Maybe it's guilt from the past. Maybe it's the pressure to be perfect. Or whatever it is, God is saying, give it to me, not halfway, not temporarily, not with one hand still gripping it. Fully release it. And when you do, you'll experience what it means to walk in peace, not pressure. Because what was too heavy for you is light for Him. And He's more than willing to carry it if you're willing to let Him. We've all been there waiting, praying, hoping, and still nothing changes. The job hasn't come through. The relationship hasn't been restored. The healing hasn't manifested. The door hasn't opened. And little by little, doubt creeps in. God, did you forget about me? Why is it taking so long? But what if the delay isn't denial? What if it's not punishment or rejection, but preparation? In God's hands, a delay is never wasted time. It's divine timing. See, God isn't just working on the blessing, He's also working on you. Sometimes we think we're waiting on the promise, but the truth is the promise is waiting on our maturity, our obedience, or the right moment. God isn't going to release something before you're ready to carry it. He's not going to let you walk into a door that your character can't sustain. So while you're asking Him to speed things up, He might be slowing things down to make sure you're prepared because He loves you too much to let you arrive too early. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He had a dream at 17, but didn't see it fulfilled until years later after betrayal, imprisonment, and delay. From the outside, it looked like God had forgotten him. But every step, even the painful ones, were perfectly timed. The prison wasn't a setback. It was part of the setup, because when Pharaoh finally needed someone to interpret a dream, Joseph was right where he needed to be. God didn't rush it, He timed it, and because of that, Joseph was able to step into purpose, not just a position. The problem is we live in a culture of instant gratification. If it's not quick, we assume it's broken. But God's kingdom doesn't run on human clocks. It runs on divine alignment. He's not concerned with how fast something happens. He's focused on when it's right. And you don't want what you're praying for to come before it's time. Premature blessings can feel good at first, but they don't last. They collapse under pressure. But when God brings something in His timing, it comes with peace, with clarity, and with the grace to sustain it. Sometimes the delay is for someone else. You're ready, but the person you're supposed to meet isn't. The door is ready, but the room behind it isn't finished. The answer is ready, but it needs to be released at the exact right moment so that everything lines up perfectly. And when it does, you'll see what God was doing the whole time. The conversations he was setting up, the connections he was arranging, the detours that actually led to divine destinations. He's not late. He's lining it all up. But in the delay, you have a choice. You can get bitter or you can get better. You can let frustration drive you, or you can let faith shape you. What you do in the waiting room matters. That's where trust is built. That's where character is refined. That's where your roots grow deep. Because when the door finally opens, you'll need more than excitement. You'll need endurance. So don't waste the waiting. Worship while you wait, grow while you wait, prepare while you wait. Because one day what felt like a delay will suddenly make sense. You'll look back and say, God, you were right. You weren't being slow. You were being strategic. And the thing you almost gave up on will show up better, fuller, stronger than anything you imagined. Not too early, not too late, but right on time. We live in a world that moves fast. Deadlines, expectations, responsibilities. Every day seems to come with a new reason to stress. There's pressure to perform, to provide, to please everyone, to have it all figured out. And if we're not careful, that pressure can drown out our peace. But here's the truth. Peace isn't found in having all the answers. It's found in trusting the one who does. God never promised life would be pressure-free, but he did promise we could walk through it with a calm heart and a steady mind when we trust in his plan over our own panic. Pressure will always try to push you into overdrive. It says, you're falling behind, you have to do more, you can't slow down. But peace speaks a different language. Peace says, God's got this. You don't have to carry it alone. You're not behind, you're right where he needs you. It's not ignoring reality, it's shifting your perspective. When you stop responding to life based on pressure and start responding based on God's promises, your whole experience changes. You begin to breathe again. You begin to trust again. God's plan is not reactive, it's intentional. He's not scrambling to fix your life like a crisis manager. He's been working behind the scenes from the beginning. Before you felt the pressure, he already had the solution. Before the problem arose, the provision was in motion. That's why trusting his plan brings peace, because you know it's not being made up as you go. It's already mapped out. You're not just going through stuff randomly. You're moving through something purposeful. The problem is pressure makes us impatient. We think, if I don't handle this now, it's going to fall apart. And so we rush. We force things. We try to make it happen in our strength. But trusting God's plan means you stop trying to play God. You stop putting your trust in timelines and outcomes, and instead you start resting in his wisdom. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop letting pressure be your guide, peace takes the lead. Peace doesn't come from perfection. It comes from surrender. Think about Jesus in the boat during the storm. The disciples were panicking, the waves were crashing, and the wind was howling, but Jesus was asleep. Why? Because he knew they were going to the other side. The storm didn't change the destination. That's peace. That's what it looks like when you trust God's plan more than your pressure. You might be surrounded by chaos, but you can still rest knowing who's in the boat with you. And if he's not panicked, you don't need to be either. We often think peace comes after everything works out. But God's peace doesn't wait for the outcome. It steps in during the process. It meets you in the middle of uncertainty and reminds you you're not alone. You're not forgotten. You're not failing. I'm still working. When you believe that, the pressure starts to lose its grip. You stop letting circumstances control your spirit. You start waking up with a quiet confidence, not because life is easy, but because you know the author of your story is still writing it. So today, take a breath. Release the pressure. Let go of the weight to prove yourself, to control every detail, to force every outcome. Instead, lean into peace, the kind that only comes from trusting God's plan. Say, Lord, I may not understand it all, but I believe you do. I won't live by pressure, I'll live by your promises. I won't let stress drive me, I'll let your spirit guide me. Because when your trust is in Him, peace isn't something you chase. It's something you carry. When life feels uncertain, our instinct is often to overthink, overanalyze, and overplan. We try to map out every detail, make every backup plan, anticipate every outcome. Why? Because we don't like the unknown. But here's the good news. God has already gone before you. That means He's already seen tomorrow, next week, next year. The situation you're stressing about, He's already standing in the middle of it, making a way. He's not figuring it out as you go. He's already been there. In Deuteronomy 31:8, it says, the Lord Himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. That means before you face the challenge, God has already set the stage. Before you walk into the meeting, He's already positioned favor. Before you speak the words, He's already softened the heart that needs to hear them. That's what it means when we say, He's gone before you. He's not just walking with you, He's already ahead of you, working in ways you can't yet see. Following God requires trust. It means learning to walk by faith, not by sight. And that's not always easy, especially when the path looks unclear. But faith isn't about having perfect clarity. It's about having perfect confidence in the one who's leading. You might not know all the steps, but if you know the shepherd, you're going to be okay. God is not leading you blindly. He's leading you purposely. Every turn, every delay, every opportunity, it's part of His design. The problem is we often want God to follow us. We say, God, bless this plan, make this work, open this door. But that's not how it works. Our job is not to ask God to bless our direction. It's to align with His. That means sometimes He'll lead you into unfamiliar territory. Sometimes He'll call you to wait when you want to run. Sometimes He'll ask you to let go of something you thought you needed. But if He's leading, you can trust that it's for your good. There's a peace that comes when you stop trying to be the guide and just start being the follower. When you say, God, you know better. I'm not going to outrun you. I'm not going to lag behind. I'll walk at your pace in your path. You begin to move in sync with His timing, His rhythm, His wisdom. And as you do, you'll start to notice things falling into place, not because you forced them, but because you followed faithfully. One of the greatest examples of God going before us is the Israelites in the wilderness. Scripture says God led them by a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. He literally went before them. When the cloud moved, they moved. When it stayed, they stayed. They didn't have to guess, stress, or strive. They just had to trust. And the same is true for you. You don't need to see the whole picture. You just need to follow the light in front of you. God isn't asking for your perfection. He's asking for your obedience. So today, stop stressing over the unknown. Stop trying to predict what's ahead. Lift your eyes, open your heart, and say, God, lead me, and I'll follow. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to know what's around every corner. If God's gone before you, then whatever's ahead is already covered in grace. Your job isn't to control it. Your job is to trust, to walk, to believe, and to keep following the one who always knows the way. So today, I want to remind you of something simple but life-changing. God is already handling it. Whatever it is. Whatever's weighing on your heart, keeping you up at night, making you question your next step. God is not confused, not stressed, and certainly not absent. He's already ahead of you, already working behind the scenes, already preparing the breakthrough. He's writing a story bigger and better than what you could ever imagine. And your role is not to figure it all out. It's not to carry the burden, solve every problem, or chase peace like it's something far off. Your role is to trust. Trust that if He brought you to it, He'll bring you through it. Trust that His timing is perfect. Trust that His plan is greater than your pressure. Trust that even when you don't see the way, He is the way. Let today be the day you stop overthinking and start resting. Let today be the day you release what's not yours to carry and embrace what God has already covered. You don't need all the answers. You just need to follow the one who does. He's already gone before you. He's already made provision. He's already working it out. So lift your head, breathe deep, walk in peace, and remember, while you're trying to figure it out, God is already working it out. The pressure is off. The battle is His. The outcome is secure